And here we are, live for another week, and it's Bill and Ammon's Bogus Hangout, without Bill, with Terry, without Kristin, and without anybody else at the moment, but we don't care, because we've still got plenty to talk about, I am absolutely certain. I'm just sorting out the link for somebody. Yeah, I mean, what you been up to this week, Terry?
Oh, a bit of the usual, doing some development, little bit of writing. Learned a lot about business center this week. Actually doing a comparison cost.
Cool.
Jesus, you look like you were in, what's the other guy look like?
Hey, Tony.
How you doing?
Not too bad. Is it raining out?
That's better. I can hear you now.
Yeah. Is it raining? Your hair looks very wet.
I just had a fight with a shower and lost. Oh bloody hell! I tell you what. I had my toe in that shower. I must have come out of that shower literally about 2 minutes ago. And because I've also got a bit of an eye infection as well. I don't know if you can see from the picture, but my eye's a little bit swollen. Oh, so right. It's been a lovely day. I've been fighting with bacteria, having showers, but I'm here, and I wanted to be here, mate. This is it.
Excellent. Yeah, glad to have you here.
Thank you, sir, and you too. Awesome. So,
Terry's week is mostly development and writing. How's your week been? What have you been up to this week?
Catching up, to be honest with you, catching up with a ton of client work actually. We had a holiday a little while ago, about 2 or 3 weeks back, and it's amazing when you work for yourself and you can't turn around and there's no one behind you. Boss, I need some hat. Can you give me a hat? No problem, Tony. We'll allocate him. We'll allocate him, and we'll allocate him. So I was away for a week, and I've been playing catch up ever since. To be honest.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm just getting old. And today is my 45th, which is crazy. So. Yeah,
it still makes you the youngest in this room, mate.
Well, I know by half at least. I'm sure. I'm sure. But yeah, how have you been, Ammon? Have you been good this week?
Yeah. Had a reasonably busy week as ever.
Yeah.
I'm toying with the idea of running a sale. I've got a client who I'm just coming to the end of a contract with, and it's kind of left a load of time over the summer, and I thought, I've never tried having a sale. I wonder if it can be done in consulting. Just for the sake of it, I'm really tempted to see what it does, you know.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Well, I guess there's a mentality in our field of always, you know, we're often up against other consultants. Well, not consultants. There's a lot of suppliers out there, isn't there? Yeah. A lot of those who 10 keywords for $5 type sort of people. And I think if we can add the value and we can offer us that at the same time, I tell you what, I think we've got it made. You know. As consultants. Yep. Absolutely.
It just struck me as something, I mean, price is a thing we all struggle with because price perception is a big part of it. You don't want to undersell yourself. You don't want to sell yourself as cheap. So it's always a thing that, you know, it's been something very carefully, you know, and price almost never goes down. And I just thought, you know what, never done a sale. Maybe it's time. Let's see what happens.
Excellent. Well, I'll tell you what, whatever the insights that you gain from doing that and the feedback you get, you know, share them, because I'm sure that there's a lot of other people who'd love to be able to go and do a similar thing, myself included. But knowing that sometimes people can be very price conscious, it's hitting that middle line, isn't it? It's getting that just right.
Yeah.
Hi, Kristin. How you doing?
Oh, good. I'm just getting set up here. How are you?
Getting some clothes on. That's what she means.
No, I actually have clothes on right now.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. It's changed. Just getting comment tracker going.
Yeah, it's going. So, what have you been up to, Kristin? How's your week been, other than the sexy rock challenge?
Yeah, and you don't like all my posts.
I've loved every rock song you've posted, both of them.
Oh my goodness, whatever. I started it. You know what? I'm willing to push the edges a little, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Especially.
how does this woman? How does she study dance and know so little about the genres of music? Come on, what's going on?
I do know about the genres of music, but I'm just trying to push the envelope because I know a lot of you guys are just stuck in your little boxes.
Well, I'll tell you what, those elevators, I mean, I can't say any more. Awesome. I mean, blimmin' heck.
Well, yeah, it makes sense that men would be thinking about an elevator and a woman would be thinking about a cradle.
Yes, absolutely. But you shared them on Google Plus, and I'm thinking, what is all this to do with this dancing lark? And I did a look, and hell of a song, one of the best songs. So
Yep.
Which one? The Love in the Elevator? I can't even say it like normal, like I say it syncopated with the song. Love in an Elevator.
I'll tell you what, though, it's bugged me because, and I said this to Kristin earlier in the week, I spend hours on some of my posts. I spend a lot of time and a lot of thought and try and put out good content a lot of the time. And I'm lucky to get 20 pluses on a lot of them. Meanwhile, I just copy and paste a YouTube link in, stick a video on Jeep, and it gets 60 pluses.
Yeah, and reshares. Well, I think it kind of makes it a little bit more accessible when you, if you're sharing it with, you know, just a little blurb like, hey, this is really cool rockin' music. Then like people are like, okay, that's not too personal for my stream.
Yeah, but
I've had like a very, very personal one that was like my dance thing about my college experience and my university and my company experience, and like I got, I think, the most reshares I've gotten of all the music posts.
I'll tell you what it makes me think of. It makes me think of the fact that people are always saying, oh, we hate the fact that town centres are disappearing. We hate the fact that personal service is disappearing. We used to love those quality shops. Then why did you keep going to the supermarket and starve them all to death?
Yeah.
If you want quality posts, support them.
Mm-hmm.
If you want people just copy and pasting YouTube videos, go ahead, Google Plus. You're really, really working towards that right now, and the good posts will vanish because they're just not getting supported.
Well, and then like, do you ever like flip it around? Like, oh, I don't know, is that just a circle count feature? That's just universal, right? So you can flip it around and see like the reshares and ripples and all that.
Yeah.
Okay. I've used circle count since the very beginning, so I forget like which features aren't. But so you flip it around and you look and you see like who it is that's plussing it, and I can often tell like when something's gonna go like, you know, just, you know, off my shelf anyways, you know, and get like a bunch of pluses because I don't know any of the people. And so if I have a post that I put more time into and I have 7 people of my peers, I still value that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It does when you struggle over a post and you spend time really crafting it. To see more pluses on something that you put 10 seconds into is just, it's like a slap in the face to somebody like me. It really is.
Oh, I even tried to slap someone in the face. Johnny asked for his rock thing. We were fighting that night, and so I was like, I'm going to do the first thing that I've ever done in the history of posting anything ever, and I'm not even going to write a description or anything on it. And I just went, and it still got pluses and reshare.
Yeah.
Yeah, but isn't it nonsense that mostly gets pluses anyhow? A baby picture will get you, you know, more pluses than if you wrote something about, you know, SEO or something that's really interesting. I find most of what's on posted on Google Plus is complete and utter nonsense, complete waste of.
To be fair, most people spend longer producing a baby than I spend producing a post, so I don't mind that.
But when it's a baby cat.
Producing or carrying? Producing or carrying? I mean, come on, 9 months.
For her, it's the same thing. Your part may have only taken 2 minutes.
And I've been paying for it with 3 of them ever since. I know.
Wait, you've been paying for it? That could be taken a couple ways.
That's very true, actually, yes.
Yep, we won't go there on which of those ways isn't true.
Please, I don't want to ruin your show the first night I'm on here, please.
We already ruined it a long time ago.
Exactly. This is an unruinable show. It's just real people having real conversation. What could possibly go wrong?
We've baptized it. We've christened it. We need to get rebaptized.
Yeah. Put it this way, 1 week I was the only person who turned up. So
I was thinking badly.
Really? After 10 minutes I turned off the rug. You know, and apparently everyone turned up after that.
Oh dear.
And I literally was clicking in. But you were setting up and stuff and didn't see it.
Yeah. John Mueller says the same thing as well. But of course, he isn't a co-host of the show who should have been there 10 minutes before, not 10 minutes after.
I gave you warning that I was at my mom's and that's going to be kind of tight. We have a good time here.
Exactly. For me, that kind of, it's part of the magic of the show. You don't know what's going to happen, and that week we proved it. You know, that week it was just me sat there twiddling my thumbs. Great, you know, it happens. This is real. This isn't a scripted show. This isn't something we secretly work out beforehand. None of us have any idea where the conversation's going. It's getting to meet the people, you know, unscripted, without worrying about agendas, other than we're here to have a conversation.
But you are a Wyld Stallion.
Well, there is some of that, yes.
There we go.
And I am an improvisational dancer, so it kind of works.
Yeah.
And this way we get to show everyone how just naturally witty we are.
Or not. In my case.
Or not. How witty we think we are.
Yeah, that's more like it.
There are people that I have said to in the past, if there were a prize for wit, you'd have half a trophy.
Oh dear. No, I'm on trophy for this.
I must admit, I've been causing some trouble this week.
Oh, good for you. How?
My
What have you been
apologies to David Ameland, but he put...
What have you done to... Oh.
He
Yeah,
shared something he'd picked up from Martin Shervington, I believe.
Jason
which
Silva.
was, yeah, nice, aspirational, sci-fi, big picture, this is what the future could look like kind of thing, but phrased as fact. And you know how I'm going to react to that, because it's the same way that we SEOs have to react to all of these things about what Google could be doing, which is anything, with no, you know, and then this is what Google's doing. No, this is what you wish Google was doing, maybe.
There are a couple of us, however, that didn't read the facts so much into it. We took it more like it was inference.
Yeah.
Have you watched Jason Silva a bunch?
No.
Like maybe that's part of it. Okay, because, yeah, like I've seen a bunch of him, so I know that that's just what he does. He postulates.
Well, as long as he wipes afterwards. Sorry. Please wash your hand after postulating in the channel. Now,
that can go either way.
It was one of those. It was one of those. I say that. I've just got to say, this isn't fact. It's good, but it's. Let me give you an example. It's something that uses the kind of buttons that we push on people, and I think everyone needs to be careful of that. It's like when you say, oh, you know, kids today grow up so fast. Now, that sounds like a truism. We've all heard it. We've probably all thought it at some time. But you know what? Go back 60 years. 60 years, so within people's lifetimes, and kids were considered adults at 14, 15. They were going out to work. There were young men of 16, 17 lying about their age and going off to fight in the war. Now, if you want to really pretend that today's spoilt brats are more mature than that, I'm afraid I'm not going to agree with you. It may sound like a truism, but the fact is we've got people who are 26, 27 who aren't able to take the kind of responsibility that a 15-year-old was expected to take on 60 years ago. That's the truth.
You could add 10 years to that. You could add 10 years to that. You could say 35-year-olds who aren't willing to take the same responsibility. Don't
you have to name my real age.
Well, mine's 21, so.
Yeah.
But I just think it's something people need to be careful of, is that a lot of things they'll put forward an opinion that you've had or thought at some time that's popular. Watch it. When we say you've got to question the facts, this isn't the facts you don't agree with. The ones you've got to question the most, the sources you've always got to check the most, is the things that agree with you, because that's where your bias can be letting stuff slip by. Your own bias.
That's the point.
In that kind of, I think in the past we were a lot more clear about what we thought was conjecture and what was fact. I think that art has been lost. That's a lot of when I read posts nowadays, I kind of look at it and say, well, you can't prove most of this. And that goes for, you know, even when the boss says they're doing tests, you know, they're doing a test on an oomph of Google. Like, it don't tell you much, really. A little bit more than a test I could do myself, but it still isn't Google. So it's all still conjecture. Just like the forecasting tools that you see for the algorithmic changes. They're all screwy. They say all kinds of times that there's these things going on, that that's just the way it goes, you know. Because they don't really understand, I think, that the way things are indexed now is radically changed. Like, radically changed, even in the last 5 years.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you've really got to be so careful. We you know, say that different people read things in different ways. Even if you think you're being clear that I'm just sharing conjecture, this is opinion, if you haven't stated it, people will miss it. And likewise, you know, if you are intending to state facts, then cite your sources so people are clear on it and don't think this is just the conjecture that other people are sharing. But it's so important to get this right.
Terry, that's what you do a lot.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, Terry does that a lot. Like, it's so helpful that you care about, like, young, like, SEOs or, you know, people that are, like, learning about the industry, because you just say, like, okay, this is how it is, and you don't, like, puff around different things that you just theorize. And so I really appreciate that, and it makes me feel confident in being able to ask you questions.
Yeah, I love Griswold's comment there. Just befriend a curmudgeon and let them check your facts.
Yep.
Do you know what? That has been working in the SEO game for a long, long time. This is the advantage of the forums and the communities, is that you could run it past somebody else, get a second set of eyes over there. Because that is one of the areas where it's very, very easy to let your bias run away with you. You know, I'm a good copywriter. The chances are I'm probably going to overestimate how important copy is in SEO generally. I'm going to downplay some of the other factors because the one I'm good at is the one I'm seeing.
Right.
And you're naturally getting a bias there. If you are great on social media, you've got a huge following, you're going to oversee how important that is.
Because you can only go on your experience, right? So if you're more experienced with social media, of course, gonna be more confident in what you're saying.
Yeah, and the worry with that is, did you learn it? Social media, there are people who, got in early, got on the suggested user list, got a gazillion followers. Now they're sharing tips. They don't know how they got a gazillion followers. What tips are they sharing? If I want to know how to make the most of having been on a suggested user list, that's great as long as I can get on the suggested user list. Where's the person who's sharing how to do that? Oh, funny enough, they're not around. I see Darren has joined us. I don't know if he's got sound. Darren, you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah,
Hey.
there he is.
Hello. Sorry, my camera's not working. My camera's not working very well, so I switched it off.
Okay, mate, no problem at all. We're good with sound here.
It's crazy when I
else?
came in. Like, we came in, like, at the same time, and it felt like this, like, weird vortex thing. Because I saw you, and then you went away, and I was like, whoa.
Apologies for being late. Yeah, I've just got back in from work, so.
Work gets in the way of everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Darren, for those who don't know, is an old friend from the Creator Site Forum days, and many a discussion was had there. For those who might like a bit more info, well, tell them about yourself, Darren. Come on, it's your first go on.
Okay. I tend not to be. I've been in SEO since 2001. I've known Ammon, I know Tony, and I've met Ammon personally and Bill online via the Creator Site Forum. And I kind of fell into SEO 15 years ago, and it was the Creator Site Forum that helped me get a handle on what I needed to learn. I've been doing it ever since, but I guess I tend to keep myself to myself. Well, I run a web marketing company, and we're now 5 of us, soon to be 6. And yeah, just like providing good SEO to customers that deserve it. Yeah.
And even some of the ones that don't, as long as they pay the bills.
Yeah, they end up normally being fired. I don't see the point in providing our services to someone that doesn't what we do or doesn't want to do things ethically. So we just we turned down a client last week because they provided a product, a potential client. They provided a product that we just didn't. So it was a bit hocus pocus. So we said no, thank you. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Cool. So 6 people already. I mean, you were only 3 a couple of years ago, so that's some pretty fast growth there, actually.
I think being outside of London probably makes things tougher. But yeah, it's going all right. It's going all right.
Yeah. Cool.
So this is my first hangout, so I thought I'd just sit back and just watch the conversation.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. We'll pull you in, don't you worry.
All right.
So, Tony.
Yep.
You sort of nodding along with down there. You have to fire a few clients every now and again.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because when you don't really know about a client, you don't really know what makes them tick, or you can't. And no matter how well you pre-qualify, no matter how well you try and do stuff, give it a couple of months, and all of the agreements and the nodding of the heads in the first week, they can soon turn into the pouty faces and the And then, well, actually, I've got a friend who said the other things the other day. And, you know, it's a killer. How pre-qualifying clients, or dealing with clients generally, you just don't know. No matter how much you try and ask the right questions and read the right books and you try to, you know, use all the whys, whens, hows, this, that, and the other, no matter how you try and do it, invariably you're going to get some that you're going to work with that after 2 or 3 months you're going to wish that you was, you know, squeezing zits rather than dealing with them. And some clients, in fact, all, you know, it's not as if there was a script. It's not as if we say, well, hello, this is a nice to meet you. Thanks for working with us. Here's your script. And this is how you must act with us for the first 2 months. Okay, Mr. SEO, no problem. We'll do the same back. Thank you. Right, we've got the script worked out. That never happens. And things can go off the boil. Things can happen. Things can change. And yet, in our field, Ammon, and Darren, and Terry, and Christine, in our field, things change daily with Google. Things change daily in the industry. Things change all over the place. So when you consider that how much change we deal with regarding Google, how much change we deal with regarding online, how much change we deal with clients, you know, it's one hell of an industry because there's always moving parts. Nothing's ever still. There's always organic, moving parts, this and that. So, you know... Hey.
Oh, I'm sorry. No.
They agree with me.
Good night. See you in the morning, yeah?
No.
Off you go.
That's when we really want the camera.
There you go. So, yeah.
Terry, same thing for you?
I don't have much trouble with clients. After 2 or 3 months, there's a problem, I move on. Life's too short. Some people, you have to really manage. That's the whole job, actually, is managing the client. You know, send me one email. I send you an email back, say I really don't care. And by the way, I'm going to charge you for telling you. Quite simply, you know, most of what's out there is that's written. You know, there's so many ways to do SEO that when a client comes to me and says, this is how they're saying it should be done, you can't argue with that because that guy's probably just as right as you, right? So I just, well, you know, that's not how I do it. So, you know, if you want to do it like that, you're free to go. That's why I don't believe in contracts either. I go month to month, keep track of everything I do, so I can charge you for everything I do. That works out well for the client because they're never wondering where did that money go. Because that was one thing that I learned when I was with SEO pros and we were kind of working with the public. 9 times out of 10, it was the client just didn't understand where their money went. So I changed my billing almost immediately. So I keep track of everything that I do right down to the minute and charge like that. Nobody ever argues or feels cheated.
I'm with you on the thing of, you know, when a client is double guessing and saying, oh, well, what about this technique and that you know, yeah, you've got to charge them for the time of explaining, but I kind of welcome it as well because I like a client who wants to know. I like a client who is engaged and interested rather than the last thing I want is a client who says, right, do SEO for me and then isn't going to have any input and isn't going to react to things that you're asking for because they expect you to do everything as some sort of outsource. Now, there's a lot of Indian companies and offshore companies generally that love that kind of client because they pay the bill on time and they don't really check what's going on. They don't care. And there's good money in those, I'm sure, but there's terrible results because it's very difficult to do anything without input. You know, SEO is a part of marketing, a small part, but it's a part of marketing. and that means it's got to have.
Can I
input
just jump
from
in there,
top.
Ammon?
Yeah, go.
One thing I had in the last 2 weeks with a client who was using an SEO crowd in the UK, they were offering logic-based SEO, and I wondered if anyone else had heard of it, because I hadn't.
Logic-based?
It's the opposite.
Logic-based.
It's the opposite illogical SEO.
Yeah, well, are the rest of us selling unicorn poo SEO? Well, what's going on?
Goats! I've never heard of logic.
Someone who wants to invent a term like, you know.
I don't have any logic anyway, so.
And all that stuff, right? Like all that's just the same deal. People put a name on something, and you know they're trying to set an industry standard.
Yeah, that's right.
You know.
What worries me is a lot of the time when you hear people use the word logic, what they mean is automation, and that's actually illogical because you're dealing with people. You're dealing with people who, let's face it, we've all developed a really touchy spam response. We have all learned to be infuriated by going onto a site, and 10 seconds after we get there, up pops that box blocking the content, asking for us to subscribe to something. Hell, I haven't even read this email, this article of yours yet, and you're already annoying me, and you think I'm going to give you my email address.
Yeah.
I can't trust you to let me read one article. Am I going to give you your email? No, of course not. We've learned to really be very, very cynical and very, very touchy about these things. And now you want to automate one of the most important parts of the lot.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Ammon, there are lots of people who will tell you that those things actually work, right? But when you think about why do they work, because most of the users think they have to sign it in order to see the article and finish reading it.
Yeah.
That's why they sign up. That's why the conversion rate improves. You're pissing off your user, though, and they're the guys who, when they get your newsletter, contact their ISP and say you spammed them.
Oh, it's even simpler than that. If they're using Gmail, which, let's face it, is one of the most popular clients, or they're using, still Yahoo Mail or Hotmail or whatever, when your email arrives, they start putting it into the spam folder. It only takes as few as 10 users spamming your stuff to get it recognized by that mail provider as spam. 10 people can put your email into spam and Gmail will start automatically classifying it as spam. You've just lost your ability to contact all of your users from that email address.
Mm-hmm.
You may have just lost it from your entire domain, which means your customer service emails are now even getting slapped into the spam folder. And yet, people still think, oh, well, it was worth it to send them one. No, really wasn't. And that is the same thing we've seen in SEO over the years. So many people who try to get to the top regardless of anything, thinking that, well, all I need to do is be page one and I'm made. Well, okay, you've now got hundreds of people to your page, but if it looks awful, how many are you going to convert? What did you do it all for? There's that old saying, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And it does seem like a lot of people approach internet marketing in a way which is throwing the baby out to keep the bathwater.
Well, it's also total data dependence. Like, just because you see that conversion rate rise doesn't mean that's a good technique, right? If you really think it through and look at the whole picture rather than just that conversion rate, right? Understanding why that conversion rate went up is probably more important than the fact that it went up. Because then you can repeat it or say, maybe this ain't a good idea.
Yeah. So we're joined by a new face this week. I see there. Carlton, hello. Nice to see you.
Give me a moment there to unmute. And hello there. Nice to see everybody here and to be able to listen into the conversation. It's interesting.
Cool. Well, I'll tell you what, Carlton. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do?
I work for myself. I'm a software developer, but I do primarily desktop applications, business applications. Really have not had a need to venture into the web very much. But I find this interesting. I actually sort of had a question for Terry, but I guess anybody could chime in on this. Terry, I came in on the conversation when you were talking about not having contracts and billing clients per line item. And I am curious, because I don't know much about SEO work, but I know, for example, in my area, that can become problematic for me, especially when I have a client who is not technologically savvy, and I may spend, for example, I may spend 2 weeks or 3 weeks coming up with a good database design. Well, I can't show them what's in my head. I can only show them the end result. And the end result may, in fact, be very simple and straightforward. And there's a tendency for them to look at that and say, what the hell am I paying 120 hours for you to do that? I could have done that in 15 minutes. And, of course, they don't realize what went into that. Is that, do you have a similar problem in doing SEO work?
That's SEO. I do it that way because basically once I don't like conflict with an SEO client. So basically, I don't want a contract. If they want to leave tomorrow, fine by me. So I don't base my business or my income and my revenue. I treat it as if I'll have no customers tomorrow.
Well, I mean, I think I do. I'm caught between two points here. Clearly, if my customers want to leave, even with a contract, they want to leave, they're going to go.
Yeah.
And I do think, so even with a contract, even if I have a contract-based work, which I do for some, I'm working on a project now that's going to take a year and a half. But we've structured the payments out monthly, but it's still contract-based. So if they want to leave, I'm not going to try and hold them to the fire, and so I still get my monthly fee. But I was just curious, like in SEO work, is it obvious to the client when you show them the results of what you've done that equals the amount of hours that you're billing them for?
There's always this element, Colin. It's a great question, because in anything which is knowledge-based, it's very hard to show somebody all of the decisions and all of the years of experience that are going into those decisions you make. It's very difficult to show that. What you need to have done kind of is branded on that in the first place. Look, if they hired you not knowing that you know what you're doing and that what you're bringing is those years of experience, it's not just putting a line of code. Any idiot can type a line of code. I can probably teach a monkey to type a line of code. It won't understand it. What they're buying is the understanding, the thought processes, the real agonizing in the first place. So if you haven't managed to sell them on that when they're coming in, that's where the problem's going to be, isn't it?
Yeah, and I do see that there are benefits to going each way. But I've found, at least in my line of work, that's why I prefer to do a fixed price, because I know what level of effort this is going to take, and then I don't have to justify that cost once they've signed off on it. I can sort of expend those hours how I see fit in getting the job done. But it was interesting. I didn't want to kind of get you guys off track again, because I know we're talking about web and SEO, but.
That implies we have a track. Off track is where we live on this show. That's the whole point.
Very good.
I see where you're coming from. A lot of the work that I do, yeah, I can show them. If I say, for instance, outreach, I can show them a spreadsheet with 1,000 places that I then have to go and review, right, to place an article. Or whatever I do, if it's a task, I can show them I've written a report. The research part of it is where it may be iffy, but when you see the research that you do for a document, right, to write a post or write content for them, they can see what I had to do to find the information. Because quite often, you can find that, because I'll just give them the queries that I used on Google to find the information. So a lot of, but the difference is when I'm doing kind of like what you are, if I build a website,
Yeah.
I do it totally different. It's build on basically providing something, right? So I get a third up front, a third when the job is half complete, and these are the deliverables for half complete. Then you get some more when, you know, it's 2/3 done, and then when it's finally complete, you get the last bit when it goes live. I've never brought anything live until I've got all the money. That's a lesson I learned early.
One of the parts that's different for me is that, of course, I'm a consultant, so a lot of my thinking time is actually time with the client. I'm paid to think with them, or at least for them, and therefore, you know, the questions I'm asking them are helping shape those decisions in the first place. And then I'm bringing up examples of, well, okay, you say you want to do this. Now there's actually two ways of doing this. Do you want to go with this model and maybe give them an example of it and explain to them the benefits and the costs? Or would you prefer to go with this and the benefits and the costs? I ask them about their resources, and they can see how much thought is going into creating the whole thing and making it work for them, because the real essence of what I do is to try and be really, really practical. Creative, yes, but at the end of the day, if you can't use it, doesn't matter how creative I've been, if you can't implement this, it was pointless, it was worthless.
You know, Ammon, there's a line of thinking with a lot of clients who would expect fully for you to sit with them in a room for 5 hours or 6 hours at a time and explain and tell them and guide them, and then ask you after that, okay, so when does the charging start?
Yeah. Yeah.
What we have to realise here is that what we have to realise here is that there's a word that I love to use. It's expectation. You know, if at the beginning of a conversation with a new client or potential new client, you lay the cards on the table and you say, well, what you're getting here is 13 years of experience. We're going to be able to go through and look at a strategy which will take us probably an hour to 2 hours in a room with a closed door, but that you're getting on the plate. You're not getting some stupid video or some dumb webinar or some dumb book that's out of date. You're getting my brain on a plate for 2 hours.
Yep. I'm now seeing a plate of jelly. I don't know why, but
right at the outset.
You just went around the world. You didn't catch it.
Well, I do from time to time, and I suspect everybody that's a consultant does this at some point or another. But whenever I have meetings with clients, I think one of the first points I make, and I usually make it several times because people don't always hear things the first go around. Is I tell them silence is acceptance. That's the rule that we're going by here. So when we put an idea on the board, we put an idea on the table. If you don't object to it, I'm taking that as your stamp of approval, because I know I've had, like you said, I've had times where you go through that and the client doesn't say anything, and so you assume that this is golden, and then of course they come back, a month later and go, oh, hey, that thing we talked about on day one? Well, let's not do that. Like, well, way too late. But yeah, it is interesting. I had a client this morning, and again, if I'm too far off base, just tell me, reel me back in here. But I had a client who this morning I had this project I've been working on them for ages on. Now this project, my understanding of this was they were going to give me sort of the business rules that needed to be encompassed and the functionality that needed to be there, but I was sort of going to be have carte blanche in terms of designing it and writing the program and so forth, which in my mind it includes the user interface. So today they came back. Now this is 6 months down the road. They came back, and the owner who's paying for this said, you know what, last 6 months, he said, I've been staying up late every night, and I've been designing these screens on my own, and I know, and here's, I can see the smile on Kristin's face. and he's like, and this is, here, I've got all the screens already done for you. Here's exactly what I want them to look like. And I'm like, okay, totally apart from the fact that they were horrendous. Okay, let's not even go there. But
yours weren't drawn in crayon on an envelope. I've had that before.
No, he used some weird tool he found to do this, but that was fine. And he goes, and here's where kind of the guts. He says, well, this should make your work a lot easier for you to do, because I've already done this. I've already done the screens. And I'm like, no, actually, you made it 10 times harder. And he goes, why? And I said, and you just have to explain to the client, say, when I do this, there's design work in terms of the database and the objects and how you're modeling all of this stuff. And in my head, I have an idea or a concept for how the screens and the workflow are going to play out. You've now thrown all that in the trash can and juggled it up and come up with a totally different workflow structure, which now means I've got a mismatch between my object model and how the functionality of the program is going to work. I now have to go back to square one and reinvent the wheel, or leave it a mess and kind of write some sort of in between a matrix to tie the two together. But yeah, I talking to clients is always
couple of quick things here. First, apparently some of our users are having trouble watching us at the moment. Seems like there's some buffering issues. Sorry to hear that. For once, it's absolutely crystal clear inside, so maybe jump on the live link, mute yourself, sit inside the Hangout, because it's working for all of us.
I even have Windows Update going on.
Yeah. Second
okay,
thing,
Kristin's killing us.
second thing is, I must admit, that's where, if anywhere my skill in reading people comes in, that's where it comes in. Now, a few people commented on this when I did the Ammonite show, how quickly I can sort of talk with somebody and really get what they're trying to do. Well, you have to be able to do that in consulting. You've got to be able to sit in that meeting and give them advice, and even if they're trying to be polite and nodding along, if they're not buying it, you need to know it. If there is an objection in their head that they're not voicing, you've still got to be able to read it. And I think that is one of the most important skills when you're a consultant, is to know when they are resisting.
The best clients I've ever had were the ones that gave the most objections at the beginning, and they challenged that we offered, and they were thinking about what we were offering, and they were reading it. And the worst kind of client we have now are the ones that don't read our report, don't respond to our emails, and then say we're poor at communications.
Yeah, because you're not forcing the knowledge into their brain against their will. That's basically what they mean, which, let's face it, does happen. Some people, they don't want to listen when you are trying to talk to them. But they expect you to have somehow got the knowledge into their brain when it suddenly turns out they need to know it because they weren't paying attention when you told them already 6 months earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that part is kind of universal for us all, Carlton. Unfortunately, it's whenever any of us are dealing with anything arcane, anything that most people don't know, they will have assumptions about it. We all have assumptions about all kinds of things. Sorry, I just saw this comment by Vincent. If you're telling me now that you can read all the voices in my head, I didn't give you enough credit then or now. Not your head, Vincent, just humans.
Oh, is that from earlier?
Yeah.
I have a question, if you don't mind, because I don't really know much about SEO. Is SEO an ongoing process in terms of even a single client, or is this a one-stop, kind of fix it and gone, and now you're good to go?
There's bits of both. Terry, come on, you jump in here because you haven't said much this week.
Yeah, some of it is ongoing. Some of it is done once and done. Especially if you do it right. But one thing you always have to do is keep adding content, or Google forgets about you.
Yep.
In my experience, it depends on the sector that you're in. The job in 2007 for a customer, it was a project. We moved on. They're still on the first page of Google organically because they haven't been a competition. There's still the same competitors who haven't done all that much. Whereas we have another customer, they really could do with us helping them every day, but they can't afford that level. It really depends, I think, on the sector and the client's goals and aspirations.
Is it a true statement, or is it or am I misunderstanding something, that pick Google as one, that they are not forthcoming with how they rate websites. I mean, it seems to me just from a cursory glance that there's some generic information, but I suspect that there are also some proprietary information that they're not forthcoming with. So does that make sort of the job of SEO sort of a, I don't want to say a magic show, but it's sort of a trial and error thing. You kind of just learn and have to change and adapt as you go.
Let me give you a perfect way to explain this, Carlton. If you deal with people, they don't tell you what's really going on in their heads. But the people who are great salesmen, or the people who are really good with people, they're good at reading people. They're good at understanding the common factors. They're good at seeing what's really going on, even though it's not been stated. Google's a lot like that, and a good SEO is a lot like a good psychologist. They understand a lot of the thinking that's going on. They understand some of the realities, and they can even take some of the double think and say, well, okay, yeah, I understand that you're saying that, and why you need to say that, and also that it's not 100% true. And, you know, playing all of that together. There are parts of Google that are very logical. Google is a business. They've got a business. They've got customers. Now, Google Search has customers. Everybody who does a search is a customer, and if they get good results, they use Google again. If they get poor results, they may not use Google again. They may go over to Bing or any of a dozen other rivals. So you've got to remember that Google's not interested in where your company stand. What they're interested in is how good the results are to the average person who's running this search. And different searches have different kinds of average customers. Short queries still tend to be people who are on desktop or on mobile and not using voice search, and you know there are things that go along with this. Really complex queries are either voice queries or more often the very complex desktop queries, or where somebody's putting in a whole quotation and looking for the original source. So different kinds of searches can have different kinds of customers, and even there Google need to serve different ways because they're serving different customers. So understanding that, you know, Google's got nothing personal invested in this. You know, it's they don't care about your business. What they care about is that the customer came in, did a search, got a good result. They don't even necessarily care that they got the best result in the world, because who's to judge that? One person's best is not another's. If I search for best music record ever recorded, everyone's got their own opinion of what that is. Now, what I want, if I do that on Google, is I want to get some interesting ideas of some popular tracks. So
Yeah.
does that kind of put it into context?
Yeah. Actually, that was a very good explanation. Thank you.
I think as far as transparency, Google has never been more transparent. I remember when there weren't even webmaster guidelines. There was nothing. All you knew was what you learned yourself. They didn't, you know. Ammon remembers. I remember when the first search engine put up guidelines, and everybody went crazy because it was the first time we'd ever gotten any clue as to what's permitted and what's not. But I think a lot of the people take the transparency too far, and so it's actually probably makes it clear as mud to them for that reason, because they're so overwhelmed with everything, right? That when something new happens, they don't know where to start because they've never had to figure it out on their own. They've always been told. So now SEOs sit around and say, well, when is Google going to tell me? Well, that's what you're paid to figure out, boys.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that Google aren't going to tell you because it would destroy the point. If you want to know that, look, I'm going to ask you this question now to see how honest you are. Well, immediately somebody's on their guard. You've warned them that you're going to be testing them on this, which at best is just going to make them nervous and give a non-human answer. In it's unnatural, and most likely they're now going to cheat.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can see the other side to this coin too, and that is that if Google were to give out specifics on everything, then it would level the playing field. So now you wouldn't be able to rate anybody's page over because everybody would be doing exactly the same thing. And so maybe there's some benefit to having some SEOs better than others, or people being a little bit in the dark, as it sort of staggers that playing field out there, and it makes it maybe a little bit easier for them as well.
It's not even quite like that, because it's one of those things. If everyone knew what to do, then whoever could afford to buy the most of it would win.
Right. Well, yes, exactly.
So, and even there's too much psychology. We've got to bear in mind that, yeah, Google's a machine, but the people who search aren't. And half of SEO is nothing to do with Google. It's nothing to do with the algorithms. It's about how people use search. And when I was writing articles for Isuzi, the first one I chose to do is how people use search, because it's so important. People get this idea that everyone online is just sitting around twiddling their thumbs looking for ways to spend money. And the fact is, not one of us ever came online to spend more money. We didn't come online because we went, there's not enough shops in the real world, I need to get the internet. None of us thought, I have too much money in my bank account, please let me find ways to spend it. Didn't happen. What we came online for was to find cheaper. We came online because we were told there's free software, there's all kinds of free resources, there's free information everywhere. Free was a huge driver. I'm not saying what men also found was free online that also inspired them to join the internet, but let's face it, we all know.
You get what you pay for. Just let that go.
Yeah. Nice to see Paula in the audience there. Paula, do feel free to jump on in, because we'll be switching to the green room in a minute, but always welcome. It's one of those things where, people don't come online to spend more money. They mostly are online to spend it less. We've learned to use shopping. We've learned to shop around for prices. We've learned to get really good at trying to find the best bargain. A lot of what we do, it isn't we do a search, we see the top result, we go there, we spend our money, we go there, we research a bit, we try and get even smarter, we try and get a better deal, we do more and more searches, and it's only at a certain point, and this depends on price and the item we're buying, how long we intend to have it and things like that, where we give up. If I'm, I don't know, buying a 3-pack of socks online, I'm going to be content with a couple of results. I'll do a search and I'll look at the couple of prices, and you know what? It's not worth me shopping around too much for the sake of 10 cents that I'm going to save on one pair over another. But if I'm booking a holiday, I can shop around for weeks. I can do more and more refined searches because the difference is hundreds of pounds or hundreds of dollars. So these are big things to understand. The psychology of people is half of SEO. Understanding how people search, how they are going to search, and what they're going to look for on a page after a search. Understanding their mindset at each stage of that research is half of SEO.
Interesting. Okay.
And marketing.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I know for myself when I buy online. It's not necessarily the top hit that I will click on to look at. It is 90% of it after I do the initial search is looking at the first few lines and the title. Some of them just turn me away, and some of them immediately seem to be exactly what I'm looking for. And I think 80 or 90% of the time, usually the one that has that correct mentality in the first few lines is probably where I'm going to buy the product. Most of the time, I don't even need to go to another one.
Yeah.
There's a saying, Carlton. There's a saying that I've said it for quite a while, which is called offline to online. If you understand and take time to learn about the various obstacles, the challenges, the pitfalls, the desires, the weaknesses, the concerns, the fears, the upsets of the type of visitor that you're aiming for and you're gearing towards, then your website experience should be a mirror image of how they deal with that in life offline. If that happens, you can stick SEO to hell. If you put the words in there that you need to put in there and you provide a user experience that they would expect to see online because of what they know offline, then you're going to kill it. Now, as long as you make sure that you have title tags that are a certain length, and as long as you make sure that you don't have a bazillion characters in your meta description, as long as you make sure your best pages aren't 64 levels down, as long as you make sure that you're not telling Google that everything's the same page when it really isn't, or whatever, then you're going to be there. You know, so a lot of it is SEO is less magic, art, and science. It's more common sense. I can't stress this enough. Every time I come across someone with a web page or website, they'll say, "Well, we want to optimize for Washington and Seattle and New York and this," and I say, "Hang on a sec. Well, in each of those individual areas of America, you've got businesses who have got every right to appear in Google for what they sell and for what they do as a product or service." Yeah, but I want to take over the world. I don't care what you want. It can't happen. Each page is an entity. Every single individual page that you have on the web has a page rank, a quality score. I'm not going to go into any technical details. Needless to say, if Google can see that that page is relevant to a query someone searches for, and that's backed up by some pats on the back from people online, a few comments, a few mentions, a few links here and there, if it's backed up with proof to Google, that page will more often than not do better than worse. Yeah. The more competitive a market becomes, the more the little tiny 50 ticks are required. The more open the competition is, the more niche an area is, the less competition, the more you can tick 10 boxes and kill it, full stop. So the more competitive, the more Google looks for the little signals and little signs.
Well, is there a let me see if I can phrase this the right way. Does Google drive businesses from the same country to the search result page of a user? So in other words, if I'm in the US and I go looking for socks, I'm probably not likely to see many web pages from the UK of people that are selling socks, or from China. Now, is that something that is the SEO's job to ensure, or is that something that Google sort of inserts sort of an override and gives preference to same country results?
I'm going to have to jump in here and tell you, or we are out of time. So, for the answer to this question, you need to jump into the green room, where we are going to be answering this off air. Meanwhile, thanks all for joining us. Do feel free to jump in. We still have some free seats. We're going to carry on chatting in private with this answer.